Hello, this is Mr. Larson, and this is the first video for AP Bio, and it will be on transpiration. So transpiration is the loss of water from a plant through its stomata. So we'll talk about plant parts and the properties of water, some properties of water. So here we go. Alright, so here's a picture of water, and hopefully you know that water is made of H2O. And so what you see are three atoms, one oxygen and two hydrogens, and the oxygen, if you looked on the periodic table, would have an atomic number of 8, and so the blue dots in the oxygen represent electrons. And so you have 2 electrons in the first circle around the oxygen, and then for a total of 8, 2 plus 6, so it actually has 6 electrons. And you'll see there's one here, one here, one here, one here, and then 5, 6. Hydrogen has an atomic number of 1, and so this electron here belongs to hydrogen up above, and this electron here belongs to the hydrogen below. Total number of electrons that can fit in the second orbital or second circle around the oxygen totals 8. So oxygen wants 8 electrons. It already has 6, and it can get another 2. And so what happens is right here, where the hydrogen and the oxygen share electrons, that's called a covalent bond. And what does it mean, polar, water polarity? Oxygen is more electronegative, which means it likes electrons more than hydrogen. So oxygen is more electronegative than hydrogen. And you see like these electrons over here again, this one here and this one here. They're not shared with anything, and they spend more time around the oxygen. And what that does is it gives a negative charge, a slight negative charge to that side of the molecule. And then on the other side, because the electrons are spending less time around the oxygen, less time around the hydrogen, sorry, you have, it's actually the Greek letter delta, looks like a weird looking S. But you have a slight positive charge on the side with the hydrogens. So that gives it a polar, like North Pole, South Pole kind of thing, positive, negative. Only you have a slight positive charge on the hydrogen side and a slight negative charge on the oxygen side. Alright, now let's look how that makes water interact with other molecules. Alright, so here's a couple diagrams from the reading that you had last night. And the picture on the left shows 2 water molecules. And because of the polarity, you have the slight negative charge on the oxygen and the slight positive charge on the hydrogen. When they get close to each other, there's actually a bond that forms right there between 2 molecules of water, and this is called a hydrogen bond. So I'll just put H because I don't have enough room to write. So when water attracts to itself, basically another water molecule, that is called cohesion. Ooh, look, my hand is really big because I'm left-handed. Cohesion. Okay. The other picture down below is also from your book, and it says water is polar. Go figure, we just explained why. And water is attracted to itself, to other water molecules, and it's also attracted to other polar molecules. So this diagram right here shows water surrounding a polar molecule. When it sticks to something else, so that is called adhesion. Adhesion. S-I-O-N. Adhesion. So cohesion is when it sticks to itself, and adhesion is when it sticks to another molecule. That's going to become important in a minute when we talk about water movement in plants and then transpiration. So if the last picture there, letter B, says hydrophobic, and this is molecules that are not attracted to water, they repel water, and they are hydrophobic. We'll get into more detail on polar, non-polar stuff when we talk chemistry of life. So let's go into plant structure and how water moves in plants. Alright, so here's a picture of a plant, and there are three parts to a plant. There's the roots, there's the stem, and there's the leaves. Ooh. Alright, I'm going to start down at the roots. I know that the picture has everything starting at the top, but I'm left-handed, so I go backwards, and here we go, we're starting at the bottom. So water gets absorbed by the roots. And then because water is cohesive, it sticks to other water molecules, and it's adhesive, and so it sticks to the side of it sticks to the roots, and then when it gets sucked into the plant, well, it actually doesn't get sucked in, it travels in, and then it will stick to the walls of the inside transport system of the plant. So there are think of like two tunnels traveling in the stem of the plant. There's the xylem, xylem, and the phloem. And so what happens is water and nutrients travel up the xylem and up to the leaves, and then sugar is made in the leaves where photosynthesis happens, and so the roots need the sugar to live, and so the sugar travels down the phloem. So xylem up and phloem down. Alright, now let's go, so that's what happens in the roots. Let's jump way to the top, to the leaves, and you can see step one, right? During transpiration, water vapor diffuses out of the stomata. So the stomata is the little opening right there. And water will evaporate out of the plant, and that evaporation is called transpiration. Now, because water is cohesive, this water molecule right here, when it evaporates, pulls another water molecule nearby down, right? And then because that water molecule is also cohesive, it pulls another water molecule down, and another one, all the way back down to the roots. And so how does water get into the plant? Happens through transpiration, okay? And osmosis, but we'll get into a little more detail on that later when we talk about cells. So that is the basics of transpiration, okay? Xylem, water flows up the xylem, and then sugar is made and it travels back down the phloem, and it's all evaporation of water and cohesion. All right, last up we're going to look in a little more detail in the plant leaf, and specifically the stomata. And bam, I moved down to the lower left-hand side. Alright, so that was just so that I could fit these pictures in. If you look at the upper left picture, you have a picture with two guard cells, right? Guard cells right there. They're on either side of an opening called a stoma. Ooh, fancy word. Okay, so basically the stoma, the stomata, plural, is the opening in the leaf that allows water to evaporate or transpire out of the plant. So how do these guard cells open and close? And that's what the picture on the right is for. So the first picture, this would be like at night, and just as dawn is coming about and it's starting to get more light. When light hits the plant, what's going to happen is the plant will actively pump out protons. And in this case, protons would just be a hydrogen atom missing an electron. So it's an H plus. And so that's basically what a proton is. That looks like a really bad H, but it is. It's an H plus. All right. When the hydrogen ions, the protons, are pumped out, then that allows potassium and chloride ions to move into the guard cells. All right. And when the guard cell, when the potassium and the chloride move in, then water is also easily able to move in. When water moves in, the guard cell swells up. It increases in mass, it increases in volume, and it swells up kind of like a balloon. When that swelling occurs, that opens up the stoma, okay, the stomata. So now the stomata is open, and water that was inside the plant can now evaporate out or transpire out. When there's no light, then that's what this is down here. All right. When there's no light, it's the opposite. There's no light. There's no protons being pumped out, and so potassium and chlorine will leave the guard cell. And when that happens, water also leaves, and then you have a closing there of the stomata, so that at night there's less transpiration than during the day. All right, so if the stomata is open, then you're going to have more water loss during the day, more transpiration occurring than at night. All right, in class, what we will look at is actual stomata. You'll peel them off of the plants that I give you, and we will measure rates of transpiration in different conditions. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I will see you tomorrow.